Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time you're tuning in. The program called What's Going On FlintTalkRadio.com. I am George Moss, the host of the program called What's Going On, and we have, since this is the fourth Monday of the month, we have our co-host is Miss Catherine Hunter Williams here, and Catherine, I want to welcome you. See Jumbo to you and all of those out there, and I want to thank you for tuning in at around 2:10. We're starting a little bit late because we're trying to get our sound up to par, and we're not wearing our headphones today because when I can hear myself, Catherine, I become incoherent, and when I have those headphones on and no feedback, I don't know what I'm talking about, which is even worse than what is usually the case. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people say he didn't know what he was talking about anyway.
I've been reading your Facebook messages that you send out, and I look at some of the responses. I think Eric is one that really gives you some responses.
Well, whether they respond or not, I'm still going to write the articles. I'm doing a five-part piece, five-part series this week, and I put part one today, and it's really hard-hitting. Some persons told me today, keep it coming, so I must
be all right.
I must say that they didn't say anything that's not going to happen anyway, whether they say it or not. I'm not writing for popularity. I'm writing to get my particular 5 cents in.
Yeah.
We want to start the program off talking, of course, about the event of the, what is this, event of the year? Or event?
It's the event of the year. It's only 4 months, and we didn't have some. There was 2 bombings, right?
I don't know what we're going to do if we don't get 200 more years of this kind of week we had last week, where we had the thing in Texas where the fertilizer plant blew up and blew the whole block out of existence.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That came after the bombing, though.
And that came after the horrid event that took place in Boston. I do want to say our condolences here at Flint Talk Radio to those who lost their lives, the loved ones whose loved ones lost their lives in Boston, and the more than 100, and now they're saying 180 people who were injured in that.
And some of them lost legs.
Lost legs and limbs.
Other limbs on their body.
Proposition by these 2 jihadists. Catherine, let me ask you this. When you heard the news, we didn't have any of the information that we later on found out about it. Did you have any particular conclusions, any views you had just off of the top of your head about where this might have originated from and what this was about?
You know, the first thought was that it happened, that it was jihad.
That's what
that was my first thought, that it was terrorists. Mm-hmm. I never thought about it being domestic. Mm-hmm. You know, that, and even though we do have domestic terrorists, I guess I'm programmed now that if anything like that happened now, then it's just automatically we think of how you pronounce it? Jihad. And they're terrorists, and that's, ever since 9/11. That's where the mind goes, at least mine did when I seen it, and I said, oh my God. Then one bomb went off, and then another went off, and I said, okay, now what else finna happen? Thought maybe it was going to be a series of bombing going off. Mm-hmm. But it didn't. And then when they start, as it progressed along days after, and they chased, they finally got the suspects. One of them did a shoot out 2 brothers, come to find out, and found out that they were Arabians. And I could just...
Chechens.
What is Chechens?
One of the former provinces of the Soviet Union.
They were not jihad.
They are jihadists, and they are Muslim practitioners.
Okay.
There's a hotbed that...
They're all around the world, right?
They're all around the world. Yeah. There's a hotbed in Chechnya, and I think the reason why we are seeing this particular episode that played out last week from that cadre of Muslim lunatics, the ones who we would call radical Islamists, is because anytime they're from other places like Yemen and those places that we have identified as hotbeds of radical Islam, I think that has been now changed in some places where we're not quite prone to look, Chechnya.
So rather than calling it jihad, just call them radical.
Well, they want to make
Islamic.
It. Well, that's the other thing that I think that we have to stop pretending that would be the ones who don't understand what the tenets of Islam are. The idea that radical Islamists would take in this notion that these are people that have somehow gone off and deviated from the central teachings of Islam, and that they just don't understand how peaceful this religion is.
Yeah, because it is actually a peaceful religion.
Well,
but they will rise up, but so do Christians. Christians rise up too now.
Well, that's my whole notion here, and what I'm saying, and that is this idea that it's a peaceful religion. I would like for them to tell me, where is that? I know you're telling me that, but where can I find it in practice, and where can I find it in history? I mean,
where can you find it in the Quran?
And that's my point. You see, we keep saying that every time there's an episode that breaks out in the world, whether that is in India, or whether it is in Nigeria, or in Sudan, or in a number of places, when we see the intolerance of this religion, we want to trot out that it's a peaceful religion in the face of what we are seeing. It's almost like people are asking us, do you believe what we're telling you, or do you believe your lying eyes? And I do not believe what you're telling me if my eyes are telling me something different. I don't think my eyes
I was reading the Quran, and from what I've seen, if you're not with us, then you are against us.
I cater to what that.
And that makes it not peaceful.
Well, that's a comment that Bush made, and everybody was around the world saying, we neither with you nor we with the jihadists. Well, how is there some middle ground position that you can take? If people are against what we are saying, and this is a worldwide problem that we're going to have to face at some point, we're going to take our heads out of the sand. We're going to have to stop acting like ostriches, like we don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, we do.
And
then, did you notice also they was comparing it that this happens like every April?
Well, there are a lot of different dates in which there are things that play off in terms of this history of aggression that we find in this religion. And
so is it some kind of a holiday or a festival or some kind of religious point that comes with Islam, that they do certain things in April or in the month of September and different things like that?
I read something about the month of April, and they were going over a whole collage of things that have happened in the month, some of which are not necessarily tied to Islam, but just kind of bad omen type of things. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that is can be consigned just to that particular thing. I think that there are some symbolistic things. There's some things that are symbols of the movement in Islam. I think 911 is one of those examples where the Muslims were stopped at Vienna and on 911 way back some centuries ago. I forget the exact year. And I think that date was a picking up of an announcement to the world that they are in fact starting up again with this aggression. They stop and start, but they never quit. Mm-hmm. And there's a very good tape on Facebook today someone sent me where it talks about 1,400 years of Islamic aggression. And there is, what's the gentleman's name? Dr. Is it Barnes? The gentleman who made the tape. And he did a brilliant job of going over 1,400 years of this aggression and showing how it has played out in different parts of the world. It's a wonderful expose of what we are not saying in the discourse of this country, because we're in denial about the face of this enemy that we're facing, and we are not yet willing to come out and say, for reasons that are very clear, we're not willing to say what it is that we're facing. We don't want to be seen as religiously bigoted against anyone, or we do not want to be seen as religiously intolerant.
Well, what about the poison that was sent to the president and other congressmen and state senators?
A different room where other mad people exist, and this person, I think his initials were KC or something like that, down in Mississippi, who has been known, by the way, and has
was he an Elvis impersonator or something?
I think he was part of that, and then some other things he's been doing. He's been sending letters to the congressmen and to different politicians over a period of time. And then
so finally he sent him poison, huh?
And then to say that KC, this is KC who has spoken, and KC approves this message. I think that was just indication of his lunacy.
Yeah.
Because that therefore put him on the trail. It didn't take as much time to discover who he was as it did.
Till he did that one, huh? But do you think it's done? I mean, do you think it's going to be some more bombings this year? I'm talking about this year, not waiting to next year or to September, that it's going to be something consistently happening every month?
Yeah, I don't know how often it will be, but we would be very naive to believe that this is going to stop because we've identified 2 people. By the way, they're now saying that there was a cell in Boston, 12 cells, 12 what they call covert cells, what is the other word they use for it? Dormant. That's not the word they use, but these cells that are not active yet.
Yeah.
In terms of having come above the surface, but they are there.
One of the first things came to mind too, because this was the Boston Marathon, was the Crim race.
The Crim race.
Yeah, because it's a big race, here in the city of Flint. And I thought about that, I said, well, if I thought about it, they probably thought about it too.
Well, there's no doubt about there will be a more vigilant police presence. Mm-hmm. And can we afford that as broke as this city is?
And they had the way he had that set was at the finish line, where he knew it would be a lot of people that were going to be coming in. It's a wonder none of the runners got hurt at all.
Yeah, they waited till the end of the race. Some had not crossed the line, but all the ones that were really in the forefront of the marathon, which is 26.2 miles, had already crossed the line. And at the end of that journey, that's when these explosions occurred. And we have to look at the timing and things of that sort. What I am really impressed with, to a great extent, the fact that they were able to use what were very limited clues and piece together the photographic evidence, which took some scientific skill to bring about this result as quickly as it was brought about.
It was really done quickly this time.
And they had that information pretty much the second day. The only thing that I really think that they made some error in is not coming forward with the photographic evidence as early as they had it. Mm-hmm. They might have been able to prevent that death of the police officer at MIT, who was killed, because as soon as they had put those persons up online and the New York Post printed the pictures, at that point those guys started running. And if they had put that out that Tuesday, they might have been able to save that police officer's life, because as soon as they identified it, those guys are no longer comfortable in terms of trying to lay in the cut.
Were they the ones who killed the guy at MIT?
That is a connection to them that they have made.
Oh, okay.
Catherine, those guys was planning more attacks. The number of bombs they had at their disposal is one indication of that, but they were also hiding their thumbprint by going to the socials. We went to these social events at the schools where they were, and they were trying to act as if nothing had happened. Mm-hmm. There was one black guy, you might have seen him in the news, that was discussing, he said he discussed with the guy that they caught what was going on. The guy was very calm and acting like he was as horrified as anybody else was. And so they were just simply, the reason why they did not do the suicide mission is because they had not intended to stop their war, which is what this really was about. This is a declaration of war without it being declared formally. It was a declaration of war against the United States, and this was definitely an expression of jihad.
I thought that they had formally said that's what they were going to do.
Yeah, and
that it was not just a one-time deal.
Yeah, well, they were not so much overtly stating that what they were doing was professing certain affiliation with the country, yet you saw the denials of that as well. For example, the 26-year-old jihadist was saying that he wanted to join the Peace Corps and that he wanted to be on the boxing team and things of that sort, which seemed to be a misdirection. He was saying that he loved America, at the same time saying he had no friends in the country because he didn't understand Americans. So there was this ambivalent kind of conversation.
And what about the father? The father said that if any harm should come to his sons, he just kind of ended there, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do know what you're talking about, and I will say this to that.
He threatening people?
You keep a very low profile. Your son killed 4 people and injured more than 180 others. We don't want to hear your noise about what you will do and what you will not do. You've done enough in terms of not having any kind of oversight over your jihadist children, and one has gotten exactly what he deserved, and the other one is going to be tried. I just heard it before coming to the studio, will be tried in a civilian court. I don't think we should make the kind of mistakes that I'm hearing some of them calling for in terms of these persons being enemy combatants. They are enemy combatants, but that does not mean that as citizens of the country, you can pick and choose whose rights you're going to respect as citizens of the country, whose rights you're going to suspend. We can't go down that slippery slope there. And so this idea you're going to try them in a military court as enemy combatants, I think that's a slippery slope we don't want to even think about going down.
Well, is the father here in this country, or is he over?
No, the father's over in Chestnut.
Okay.
And but
so he's extremist.
They claim that they will not claim that they are extremists, but see, my premise, and this is going to be very controversial, but my premise is that if you are a practitioner of Islam, you are an extremist. And the only difference is that there are some who actually emote their extremism into an action in which people lose their lives. But in terms of the call for jihad and Sharia law, that is no Muslim on the planet that would disavow Sharia law. And Sharia law is an absurdity in terms of imposing a kind of absence of democratic rights and things of that sort under the banner of Islam. I don't know if you saw it in Dearborn, Catherine, but they had a demonstration down there. And they had a big sign that said that we do not want democracy. They crossed that out. All we want is Islam. And they said, you think that can happen here? And you thought it was in the Middle East. And at the bottom of the caption it said that is not going on in Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia. That's going on in Dearborn, Michigan.
Well, tell me, I got a question, because we have what the black Muslims that also are of the Nation of Islam. Okay. Is there a difference with them? Are they a part of this, or just some of them a part of it, or
they're not a part of
are
this?
They peaceful?
They think they're a part of it. They think they're a part of it because what the people in the Middle East do is make use of these loons inside the United States. If they go over there talking that stuff, they talk over there, they'll cut their heads off talking about Elijah Muhammad as a prophet of God. Farrakhan doesn't say that over there. So
it is two separate types of.
They do not reckon. They
don't recognize the black Muslim.
They'll use them inside of the country, like Gaddafi was doing, because they can make mischief and create a diversion inside the United States and keep the focus from being totally off of what Gaddafi would do, like in Libya, for example.
Well, I thought that Gaddafi was trying to give money to Farrakhan.
Of course he was doing it, but he was doing it for his own political reasons.
They stopped it. The United States stopped it, or
well,
something?
there was money exchanged now between the two. There was a loan of $5 million that was given to the Nation of Islam. But I'm talking about the fact that you have two different political interests here, and Gaddafi had his own interest for why he would in fact do that. I saw him in the hookup when he was making footsie with the Nation of Islam. He was saying that
because Farrakhan used to go over there and he would come back and tell the people that this is a good man and this and that and support him, and they would, you know.
Well,
they followed his leadership.
Well, let's go back a little bit and just kind of look at that from another more historical vantage point. We talk about Malcolm X over here in terms of him going to Mecca in 1964. He was a member of the Nation of Islam from the time that he joined when he was in prison, coming out of prison in 1952. And he had been a member of the Nation of Islam from 52 up until the time he was put out primarily in 1963. He was out of the organization. They said 90 days. He never was going to be allowed back in there. And he was going to go, because he's now no longer a member of the Nation of Islam, going to go over there as a Muslim. He had been a Muslim minister under Elijah Muhammad. He goes over there. He didn't go over there under the name of Malcolm X. They never would have recognized that name. He went over there under the name El Hajj Malik Shabazz. And so the El Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malik is a Muslim name. He went under there under that name, and could not have gone in there under Malcolm X, which is unrecognized. In other words, you have to have an Arabic name. And Helen Smith doesn't do it, and John Jones doesn't do it. So this idea that they are practitioners of that which is recognized in the Islamic world, as far as when we think about Islam, we think about the Middle East, we think about Saudi Arabia, we think about Mecca. All the things they're saying over here would have to be changed once they go into the different paradigm that you have over there in the Middle East. And some of them are laughing at them behind their backs.
The black Muslims here.
They
in
are
this
laughing
country.
at them behind their backs, and they are, in fact, snickering, but that does not mean that they will not find some political use. But it's not the use to benefit them, it's the use in order to benefit those who have the same quote-unquote enemy in common, because both of them disavow the American flag as a part of what should direct the energies of the...
The black Muslims disavow the
They
flag?
disavow, they're not, you could not
They say
find...
they're a nation within a nation.
Why would they be a nation of Islam if you have a nation that you live in called the United States of the United... Look, here's what I can tell. I'm willing to bet, and I don't have any proof of this, but I just saw the Facebook, which they were not on it, and I'm willing to bet a dime to a donut that on after that bombing occurred in Boston, and it became clear that we were talking about Muslims having been engaged, and I've been willing to bet a dime to a donut that the Nation of Islam had a call meeting nationwide with a call to the mosque, and they were told not to say anything about this bombing. Mm-hmm. For reasons that it may appear that they're celebrating. Mm-hmm. See, now that puts me back with Malcolm again.
Right.
Because
chickens have come home to roost.
Yeah, you see what that puts me back at is that conversation that went on back in 1963 when Kennedy was killed, and Elijah Muhammad put out this call that no Muslim should make any comment because it would look like
Malcolm did.
And that's what I'm saying here. So you see, a lot of people would say that this was a way of Elijah Muhammad undercutting Malcolm X and all of that. That's not really true in terms of why they went out. He was trying to make sure that that celebration, which would have had, they would not have shown any remorse, that would not be seen under these conditions, because that would be very dangerous in that particular environment. Mm-hmm. I mean, you sell wolf tickets when the wolf tickets can be sold, and you quiet down when people's energy level is up, and they were not willing to withstand that noise that's being made, and that's when he closed that down. But what you see with Malcolm speaking out, despite his having been ordered to keep his mouth closed, is that Malcolm is in full objection to the leadership of Elijah Muhammad, and that's a story that's not been told. Malcolm is totally in defiance of Elijah Muhammad's leadership for reasons that I have will be going into when we get to Malcolm's
they say that
the grassroots speech.
After he seen, because Betty Shabazz was always telling him that the nation was out to get him, that the nation was not right for him anymore, whatever. It wasn't as far as the books say or the movie says or whatever. It was after he seen that Elijah was having these young girls and locking them up and keeping them in there and reproducing his seed, as it's called, that Malcolm actually split from him.
Malcolm
from the Nation of Islam.
I admire Malcolm's honesty in terms of his not taking a dime that didn't belong to him, but Malcolm was being a hypocrite on that level there, and I admire Malcolm on a lot of reasons, on a lot of levels. But in terms of the hypocrisy of that particular part of Malcolm's legacy, Malcolm was being a hypocrite. Malcolm was aware of those children long before he raised the objection. Malcolm saw that as early as 1958. I mean, there were two. And in fact, let me just tell you this, Catherine. You read the autobiography of Malcolm X. Remember that one part in the autobiography of Malcolm X where Dick Gregory mentioned something to Malcolm X, and Malcolm said that Dick Gregory saw how much that upset him, and Gregory then led Malcolm away from that with that statement he had made, and Malcolm was very grateful for that. But it really upset Malcolm. Now, in the autobiography, it was never said what Dick Gregory said to...
Yeah, because I'm sitting here trying to... What did he say? I don't remember that.
Well, I'm going to tell you what he said. Because it wasn't quoted in the book, because Malcolm was finessing around it, but we now have other information that allows us to put the pieces together about what he said. And what Gregory said because the rumor had gotten outside the Nation of Islam about what was going on in Chicago with these children, these teenage girls that Elijah Muhammad was in fact fraternizing with on an intimate basis. And what Gregory said is that, man, Elijah Muhammad is nothing but a pimp. And when he said that, Malcolm's Muslim instincts flew up at the top. And he was almost about.
He was very protective of Elijah.
That would look to mention
Elijah Muhammad.
To mention that in the context of Elijah Muhammad's name at that point in time would have gotten you killed.
Yes.
And that
even by Malcolm himself.
And that's what Malcolm got caught up in.
Yeah.
See, I'm not here to pull any punches because the facts lead here, facts lead there, and those who object to what I'm saying prove me wrong, and I don't expect you to even think about doing that, because most of you out there that's running your mouths don't know what you're talking about.
There's a lot of misinformation out there.
You don't even know the background of that which you're practicing. But that was a dangerous statement for Gregory to make, and he was very wise in leading away from that conversation, because Malcolm's instinct flew up on him, and his instincts was to attack Gregory, but Gregory saw how upset Malcolm was, and he got it off that real quickly, and Malcolm then began to respond to that rumor going on outside the Nation of Islam, and he began to try to hit it off so it wouldn't wreck the nation, and that caused some problems, and before you know it, we have Malcolm out of the Nation of Islam. It's a whole story, and I need to put the narrative together.
Right, because his birthday is coming up, and
his birthday
a lot
comes
of people
up.
is going to be celebrating it in May.
Yeah, May 19th.
I also wrote a small article about him in the newsletter, you know.
Yeah, Malcolm was born May the 19th, 1925. He was born 4 years before King was born. And that story is very riveting. But the way that plays here is that this is a very aggressive religion, and anyone that is saying otherwise has not studied the religion, has not read the Quran, or has not studied the history.
Most of the people that do say anything is people that don't know anything.
Yeah, well, it's too much of that going on, and we've got to become much more of an informed society, because unless you can understand the nature of that which you are facing, you can't really ward it off and deal with it and defend yourself against it.
Well, I did like some of Malcolm's quotes, like, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I liked that. You know, his best pastime was reading. He loved to go to the library and read, because then he could just go to other worlds and different things. He loved reading. And that opened up a world for him, you know. Some of his quotes, I like some of his quotes.
I don't have any respect for anybody who does not, like to read, or at least read. Whether you like it or not, you still do it. And I'm not saying you have to be in love with it.
It do open up a world for you. More information comes to you that way. You can be more informed, as you just said. Also, I encourage reading to my grandchildren and any other children. I send them books to read, so they can be encouraged to read and open up a world. That's the way I say, open up your world and read, you know.
Yeah, reading allows you to, in fact, go into the world where that book is from, and you can stay right there in your bed, in your chair.
Yep.
And you don't have to move not one step toward the place where you're reading about without knowing, while knowing about that place from what is in that book. And that's that. By the way, that brings up another point here. Guess where I'm going to be tonight? As of I got a dentist appointment at 5:30, so I can't leave before 6 to get there. But guess where I'm going to be at around 7:30 today, down in Romeo. They got Ben Carson down there.
Oh, that's what is happening now today.
That's happened today.
I see. The last program you had, or the one before that, I thought it was then, because you was talking about it on there.
I was trying to get in there, and they wouldn't write me back, and I'm trying to find out where the tickets are being sold. Captain, I don't have a ticket, by the way, but I'm going to go down there and crash.
You went on the internet?
I went on their site, and I kept asking on their site. They got this Tea Party site. I kept asking for the particulars. I knew the event was going to be on the 22nd. I didn't know where the tickets were being sold. Without even advertising, they were able to do a sellout. They sold the place out, and they announced 3 weeks before the event.
He's very controversial at this time.
And very hot as a topic of those who want to hear what he has to say. Because I tell you what it is that these Tea Party groups and other groups are finding him refreshing as someone who doesn't come with an accusation, but comes with a rational conversation for a change on race. and they hunger for that, and they're all pulling for those who will in fact talk about some of the things that are going on without so much trying to put a bloody shirt in front of them, as if you caused this and this is what you're doing. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear something that is.
Hear some truth.
They hear some truth in
Church,
our
y'all
racial
want to hear the
dialogue.
truth. Pastors, get up there and tell the people the truth.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah,
Speakers, get up here and tell us the truth. Don't be sitting up here keeping certain things. I was listening to Jesse Jackson the other day, keeping this racism going on, this racial hatred. If you are a person that's causing it by your speech, which is where the media puts him and what's the other guy?
Al Sharpton.
Up in front
With
of
his
us all the
crazy self.
time, you know. And they just, well, if you go this and you go this, and it's about this voting thing. I think that's the latest thing I heard them talking about, that they trying to stop black people from voting. And he was threw all that stuff in there, and he gets all.
These two people.
It ain't about talking about it though,
two
George.
clowns.
It's about doing something.
Yeah,
if they trying to stop you from voting, then get some petitions and take them to your, like Social Security. They doing some cuts on Social Security. Well, it's called Members on the Move, and they got these people that's going out and doing petitions, and they're gonna take these petitions to Dan Kildee. And Dan Kildee is what is he? Our super. What is
He's
he?
The representative,
representative.
that took over from his uncle in the 5th Congressional District here in
Okay,
Michigan.
he's congressman, right?
Yes, he's congressman
Okay,
now.
so they're gonna do it. I think it's gonna be May 25th. That is.
Yeah, they're still complaining about what's going on in Detroit. Then that's what you're saying. They're trying to, because of the emergency financial manager.
No. This here has to do with Social Security.
Oh, Social Security.
Because Obama has some things that he got in there, Social Security and Medicare. He wants to cut. Well, we can't afford. I'm on Social Security. We can't afford this.
Yeah, well, all these people do is find some grievance.
That's our money. How you gonna cut it?
Yeah, well,
Then tell us it's an entitlement, please.
what they would do is not give the incremental increase comes out of the inflationary.
Yeah, I know that.
Increase.
But we need
Right.
that too, because everything is up, George.
Yeah, I agree with you that should be one of the programs that we understand seniors are living off of that.
And disabled
Having
people.
have been promised.
Cut
well,
your
that
medication. You
disabled
can't
would be
get
another.
your medication. You can't get your prescriptions. I mean, it's a lot involved in this. Anyway, y'all just look for it because it's going to happen. It's called Members
Yeah, we
on
don't
the
need
Move.
Jesse Jackson out there running.
He
that.
ain't. He has nothing to do with this. He off on about
That's
this
good,
voting.
because
It's
if
somewhere
he's involved,
they're
then
trying
you believe
to.
that we're going nowhere in his involvement.
It's somewhere that they're trying to stop black people from voting, or
Yeah.
they want to reverse the voting rights or something. Anyway, they off on it.
Look, tell me who would be off that. Certainly, the Democratic Party is not off of that. And they're the ones in power right now. They control one chamber of the Congress and control the president, who is a Democrat. You tell me who in that particular group would be interested in stopping people that support them by 95% of their vote. Who would try to end their voting?
I think it's by states, George. It's not so much about
Yeah, they need
the
to name the
federal
states
government,
then.
but it's the state
Yes,
that's doing it.
name the states.
Is it Alabama?
Yeah, right. Name the states where they're doing that.
I think it's Alabama.
Yeah, that's
It's one of them that is one
that's
of them
their claim.
states. Yeah.
You see, everything when they were trying to act like getting a driver's license was a prohibition against black people voting. I mean,
But that's not true, because Democratic convention, we had to pull out our driver's license. I mean, this is just common sense there, because if I flash something, it could be anybody else's. So to be able to identify you, show your driver's license. How is that going to stop you from voting? And why do they always want to put it on the black and the poor minority?
because they're not a civil rights. These are not civil rights leaders. These are grievance leaders.
Whatever,
and they need
stop
grievance.
it.
And if there's no grievance, they have to make a grievance up.
Well, they did. They got one going on. I caught it one day, and I
It's
just
a
flipped
mockery.
it.
It's a mockery of the civil rights movement. And I was in a room of scholars. We were in a workshop for I forget how many weeks it was, but it was too many weeks for me to sit in there. But they did serve dinner, so that made it a little bit more palatable. and Catherine, I'm in there, and these scholars are saying things like, and they don't want black people to vote because they have this prohibition where they have to show their driver's license and blah, 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 poor people. And, I couldn't think of one person, as I was in that room listening to that insanity, that cannot drive because they don't have their license. They get the license before they get anything else. Even before they go get buy a pull boy on the weekend. And I just couldn't sit there and take that. Now these man said, this is nothing but a mockery. You all in here talking this nonsense about blacks not being able to get a driver's license. What about whites? Why is there not a prohibition against whites getting a driver's license? I haven't heard one person in this room yet talk about the Appalachian whites or the poor whites in the southern part of Dixie.
Other
but it's just black
minorities.
folks that can't do it because in your back of your liberal minds, you got this idea that black people are somehow more limited and inferior to you.
So what they want to do, keep us as victims?
That's because the liberals have bought
Is it
into
money in it? Money making in it?
no, it's more to do with liberals want to invite themselves into stopping the black debilitation caused by their grandfather who enslaved us and so on and so forth. They're still carrying around this white guilt, and they want to absorb themselves of it by being on our side, and
But
they're on our
George,
side to a fault.
Everybody has, if you're driving, you got a license. If you don't have one, if you get caught, they put you in jail or something. If you don't have a driver's license, everybody has an ID.
Yes.
You know,
I know. So it's a problem, right?
Thank you.
There's no problem.
Stop it.
There is no problem. It's made up. And these people are nothing but clowns involved in a conversation of the uncrazy. Look, they created a conversation last week. Today, they have a woman named Erin Burnett. She's a commentator on CNN. You know what she said today? She said, I am just really surprised that the persons that bombed Boston were not part of the stereotypical groups that, in fact, did this. Now, let me tell you what she's saying. She is saying that she is surprised that the narrative that they on the left created wasn't actually true when the evidence was in on the table. Because these people they're not drinking, they got their head in the jug of Kool-Aid. They created a narrative, and then when it doesn't fit the narrative, they can't believe that this is not true. That's kind of crazy that we
Well, it was one woman on there who said she just couldn't believe something like this could happen in the United States. And I said, where was she at 9/11? You know what I mean?
You know, people like that, I try not to have a conversation with.
No, this was on TV. It wasn't no conversation
I know, but
because I know
people
that.
like that. They get on my Facebook
Where were you?
post, and when they get on there, and I have one person, I don't care what if I say up, he's gonna say down. And those who read my posts, some of you that read everything I write, know who I'm talking about, because what I printed today, this one guy said, George, that what you wrote today, that message has not been approved by, so I didn't mention the guy's name. He gets to my post every time they tell me I'm wrong. But there are some people out there who carry around a narrative in their head. It's like a recording. And everything has to fit into that recording they have playing in the head. And if it does not, and the facts lead otherwise, they are shocked when the actual facts come out. They had a whole narrative last week, by the way, Catherine. I don't know if you paid attention to it or not. Paid attention to it or not.
I'm sorry. I after about 2 or 3 days of it, I just got tired of watching it.
Yeah, they actually
They
had.
just would go to everybody and
They had a
find all
narrative.
kind of people and whatever.
Yeah, part of the narrative was that this was a right wing a conspiracy. That some right wing or some Tea Party member had done that, and blah blah blah. Now, nobody raised the question if it's a homegrown terrorist. They were even raising Hitler's name. Somebody that carried that idea that this may one place said this might have been a celebration of Hitler's birthday. Now, Hitler was born on April the 20th,
Oh, okay.
and this bombing
That
would have
was really
occurred.
going deep, wasn't it?
Yeah, this took place on the 15th, so it was 5 days earlier. That didn't matter. But I tell you what they didn't say, those who bombed the country, if anybody in the country was interested in bombing it, nobody mentioned the name of Bill Ayers and Bernadette Dorm, who not only bombed the country in the 1960s, but were saying as college professors that they didn't feel they'd done enough back in that time period. They might ask where they were on the 15th. No, they were talking about this was a right-wing thing. And they kept going with that, and I'm saying to myself, this didn't have none of the thumbprints of anything they're talking about, and are they going to have their feelings hurt? I told one of my friends, as a matter of fact, I can't hardly wait till they catch the culprits, because I kind of knew, the thumbprints on that kind of horrible event. It had Islam, as far as I'm concerned. I'm
all
saying
written all over.
written all over, and I had no doubt about that this was nothing other than jihad inside this country, because jihad is here and is here to stay. And it was announced formally on 9/11, and these jihadists are here in this country, and there's no sense in us lying about it. That I put a map up that showed the jihadist training camps in this country. There are at least 25 of them, and they are open in their training. And the reason why they can do that is because we are, quote unquote, a freer society than those societies.
Yep.
We're not a free society. We are a freer society than those that they come out of. And although we are aware of the training camps that exist, we can't take any action. You have the right to train, but you just have the right to go viral. And so that's why nothing is done to stop them. They have embedded themselves in those camps, and they are aware that those camps exist. So that's some prevention, but they're not going to be able to move on them because they've not broken any laws. So that's the way it works here.
It ain't, and it's not going to happen until they do another bombing or something.
Yeah, but they are not. But if anybody thinks that we have ended this jihadist assault, or that you can end it by changing the name of it by calling it workplace violence, as happened with the event at Fort Hood, and somehow that ends the terror that we are facing in this country and the world is facing. That is not going to happen, and they're not going to stop. The history is very clear that this is jihad is an ongoing operational plan.
And
to
who
bring
are they
about,
against? The infidels.
They're against all persons who are kafirs, or those who are not practitioners of Islam. That includes all the groups in the world.
Well, did they have a bombing also in England? The same time, same date around that time, or after or something?
Not the same. I didn't hear anything that had happened on this date over in Europe, and I don't think there would have been that kind of coordination.
Something happened over there in England.
On the 15th, what they had over there was looking out for Margaret Thatcher's funeral coming up, and they had the
right. That's it.
Yeah,
to make sure that there was nobody bombing there, coming there bombing.
No, it wasn't. It's not that there is any coordination on that global scale as such. It's just that they have a commonality in terms of purpose. The purpose is the same. And that purpose, and let us be clear about it, is to bring about the Muslim caliphate, under which we will in fact have a worldwide introduction to and a commitment to continue Sharia law. It will be a worldwide phenomenon, and it would not stop until that is in fact accomplished. Anybody says that is not the intent of the practitioner of Islam is in fact lying or misinformed. And that is just, and a lot of it is people misinformed, some of whom are willfully misinformed because they do not want to recognize the horrors that portends. Because even Bill Maher, I have to say this, Catherine.
Bill Maher, is he still on television?
He's on HBO.
He's back, huh?
Once he got off of, they threw him off the networks when he made this ridiculous comment at the aftermath of 9/11.
He's always been on HBO.
He's on HBO now with his program.
Yeah, he's been on there a while because I don't have HBO, but I did have it.
Yeah, they threw him off of the network because of his outrageous comments in the aftermath of 9/11. But he came out this past week and said those who are saying that Christians are as violent as Muslims, that this is nothing but an expression of liberal, and he mentioned the word BS, but he mentioned the word, and that was major for him because Bill Maher,
he's an atheist.
He's not willing to say anything positive about the United States, and he's a Michael Moore type that can't see anything good in the country, and everything that he has to talk about is something that's going to bring the country down.
But it benefits them.
Yeah,
they got rich here.
They get rich here. And that's another part of what they do. They get rich by denouncing the country, and you wonder how much of that stuff are they talking about? Do they actually believe? By the way, I'm in one of Michael Moore's books, and one of my department chairman showed it to me, and there I was in one part where he mentioned something that we had done together way back in the day.
Oh, you in it?
Yeah, I'm in there, and
okay.
I didn't even try to find out what the name of the book was. 'Cause I'm not gonna read it.
Was it the rabbit about the rabbit woman?
It was about, no, I think it was about this. We went over here to this motel that we were saying over there that they're going to, they discriminate against who they rent to. And we're gonna, they called me at the last minute and said, will you help us uncover this? So I went over there and blah, blah, blah. But what's in the book there is another mockery of what really occurred. That's what he reported. It was another one of his lies. But the point is how much of what he talks about does he actually believe? Because if he believes that stuff, he's a bigger nut than I thought he was. But those guys are doing a lot of wink, wink. They know they can't make the money anywhere else in this world that they made here. Let me tell you what I said today, Catherine, on my Facebook wall. That the reason why this country has done so much better than other parts of the world is not because of imperialism, racism, or colonialism. The reason why America has gotten off the blocks and has done so well economically is because we are the country where the national government started to interfere with business at a much later date than has been interfered with all over the rest of the world. That now that we are beginning to see the government interfering with business, we begin to see the country looking like the rest of the world all of a sudden. And I wanted to make it clear why that is in fact going on. We just now begin to see this tremendous intrusion on the part of the government, regulating every aspect of business life and every aspect of American life. And we're now paying the price for it in terms of a downsizing of the quality of life in the United States. And that's not just my own premise, that's also the premise of this great economist named Ludwig von Mises, who was such a great economist. They have an institute named after him, who understood the dynamics of how societies will in fact be great or not great based upon whether or not capital is in fact free or not free in those societies. So that's just another part of it. But this jihadist movement is not going to go away. And we might as well get used to the idea that we're living among.
They're going to bomb somewhere else.
This is not going to end.
More people are going to lose their lives. More injuries is going to happen.
I take no cheer or take no happiness away from the conversation to say that this is not going to be an isolated incident. We thought you can claim as workplace violence and call it anything you want to call it. There have been so many different attacks in this country not reported. And I want to find out today, and I'm going to be looking to see what is being reported on it, what that Saudi Arabian connection is in terms of this this person who they claim will be deported tomorrow out of the country for national security purposes that comes out of Saudi Arabia. And I want to see what that is about, because there's somebody that's supposed to be on that plane getting out of here in the aftermath of this thing. They're
deporting him. The United States is deporting him.
He's self-deporting.
Oh.
And they're saying that Michelle Obama went to his hospital site. Now, didn't go to the hospital site of those 180-some-odd people that were wounded in that bombing. We haven't seen the reports of Michelle Obama going over there, but she's going to his hospital.
But he went. The president was there.
Yeah, well, Michelle went to this other place. Of course, the president couldn't have gone to this other place and it been a question mark. So Michelle goes over there. But we want to find out what that's about and who is this guy that they're deporting under, quote unquote, the umbrella of this is a national security issue that's going to Saudi Arabia. And I ask that question only because in 9/11, there were 19 people on those planes, and 15 of them were from Saudi Arabia. So there is that connection in terms of one of our quote-unquote strongest Muslim allies have people coming out of their country that is in fact causing national security concerns in this country. And I want to know, why is that the case? If these persons are so-called allies of this country. We don't see anybody from Israel, in fact, having to be deported out of the country because of those kinds of concerns. So we have to find out what that is about, and I think Glenn Beck's supposed to be talking about that today. I'm going to try to find out what he's saying. Well, I think that kind of kills that goose. Let me just say this right here too before we get off the air. Catherine, Time Magazine
I was just finna get to that. John, I was finna say, George, let's get to this 100.
This magazine. Yeah, Time Magazine has in its April the 29th issue, the 100 most.
Don't they have this every year?
They have this every year.
Okay.
So does the Ebony Magazine, and it's interesting to contrast the two lists that they have. Ebony used to have the 100 most influential blacks, and then they pick and choose and cherry pick who they're going to put in there. And the ones who on the right, none of them have any influence. It's just the ones on the left that have any influence. If you ever see Clarence Thomas's name on their list, send me a telegram.
Do you got his book, for my grandfather or something?
I read that book.
Oh, you read it? Is it worth getting it?
Those kind of books that I don't learn anything from and are not classics. I don't put in my library. I read them though, and I did read his book.
Well, it's down at the store, and I seen it. And it's my
it's worth reading. Something about my grandfather's son.
I think that's the title of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And it's a good read in terms of what the grounding point is for who Clarence Thomas is. You find out that his grandfather was the grounding point in his life in terms of setting a tone that you do this and you don't do that based upon your own moral code. And I think that's why he stands so differently from where a lot of these persons would like him to stand. But he won't be on any of the lists in every magazine because they're not trying to bring anybody to the forefront that's not in the liberal mindset. And you can't be more unliberal than Clarence Thomas. But that list does not interface with this list.
He definitely is not on there.
Oh,
this is Time magazine.
Clarence Thomas would be more likely to be on this list than any list that every magazine will put out now until the end of until the cows come home, because they're not willing to put anyone up there that doesn't sound like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. Now,
so why do you think the media builds them up so? I mean, not only television media, but the printed media also. Just them two, nobody else.
That question. That question comes up a lot, and you have to think about what is the reason why these two babblers, these two race hustlers, these race merchants. I don't have any respect for them, so I have to get a lot of names out there. What they have in common, is those that want to transform quote unquote society, want to make it appear that this country is fundamentally flawed.
Also, that we're still victims.
That narrative over there where Jesse is, there's only one part of the narrative. I mean, it's like the whole thing got to be changed so that Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton fit into that to an extent. It's not the whole subject matter, but it's part of it. And so that's the race part of it. Then there's some other components of it, economic and politics and things of that sort. And they're all trying to convince us.
Because they get a lot of press.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They doing this.
If you want the totality of the reason for them being given,
why?
Because the attack is not just upon it. Not they're using race as part of it, but the totality of the conversation has to do with the attack upon capitalism. They want to fundamentally overhaul this system by creating a narrative of dependency and the inability to make decisions and modify your own life and control your own destiny, which is the way you bring in a socialist system, which is part of that network and part of the conversation that is taking place.
So is that what Jesse Jackson and them are trying to do?
They're not conscious of that part of it. They're just being used in that mansion. In my father's house, there are many rooms. And
I always thought it was
they're over there in that little cubby hole, and that's a role that they are playing. But if you said they are conscious of the role they're playing, no, they're not conscious agents. They're just buffoons.
I always said it was because they wanted us to continue to think they were.
Who are willfully being used because they're getting that particular part of it out as well. See, the way it works with those guys is that each of them have their own, personal and private interests, economic interests. They get their share of the money. But at the benefit to the larger group of the market that black folks have, which makes up $1 trillion of income that is in fact untutored and unfocused, and so that by them continuing the confusion that they are continuing the black community, keeping them riled about nonsense
and being victims
and being victims and creating grievance.
We're not victims anymore.
Then it opens up that market, which is confused, that leave the black community in 15 minutes. when they had Tulsa, Catherine, you know how many times that money in those black Wall Streets stayed in the black community? Guess how long when they had what they call Black Wall Street, like Tulsa in 1921, that was bombed and obliterated at that time, which the story doesn't stop there. They built it back up, but within 5 years. But
where do you say this was?
Tulsa, Tulsa.
Oh,
Tulsa,
Oklahoma.
Yeah, one of the Black Wall Streets. One
in Oklahoma.
One of the Black Wall Streets, but there were many Black Wall Streets in the United States. Catherine, how long do you think the money would stay in Tulsa once the dollar got into the community there? It stayed in there. It circulated 36 to 100 times. Sometimes it didn't leave that particular environment for a whole year. You can see why that's Black Wall Street, right? Because that money is reverberating around, creating a multiplier effect.
My understanding goes out of the community in less than a day.
Yeah, in 15 minutes.
Okay.
So that so then what role are they playing over there to keep the diversion away from the power that's in their own hands and get them to define themselves as victims of the behavior of someone else as a way of maintaining a certain grievance and a certain dependency, and that is the role they're playing. Now they're playing it for this other stuff that's taking place. No, they wouldn't even understand how that fits into another narrative because they don't have privy to the other parts of the picture, nor are they useful if they knew how big a buffoon they are.
It was a book
which
that
they're the biggest buffoons on the planet.
Commit Study Group, where we had studied Jesse Jackson. What's the name of that book called? Shakedown?
Yeah, by Timmerman. And that's only one of the books out there. That's certainly one of the books.
Well, that was the one we
Shakedown.
studied.
Yeah, Shakedown.
Okay.
By Timmerman. The first book that came out with an expose on Jesse Jackson was a book written by a black woman named Barbara Reynolds, and they shut her down. Mm-hmm. It was called Jesse Jackson, the Man, the Myth, and the Movement.
Right.
And that book came out.
Did we study that one too?
We haven't studied that one. That came out in 1970. Okay. But then it came back out under another title called Lo, Behold, Here Comes David. But they shut her down. And I think they drove it into a certain degree of madness because she had a breakdown. There was so much pressure put on her.
3 minutes.
And they took her book from her. In the sense that book was put in a warehouse on a shelf somewhere. I had to fight to get a copy of it because I wanted it in my library, and I had read the book. But that book was one of the ones that it's must reading to kind of show who this man is.
Who's about the one by Reynolds?
Barbara Reynolds' book is much.
Somebody took my Shakedown book.
Oh, took the Shakedown book.
I said I got to find out from George if that was the actual name because I may have it, but.
Yeah, it's called Shakedown.
It was Shakedown.
It's called Shakedown,
yeah.
And that book was that book is important. But there are a number of books that's out there that show the kind of leadership, quote unquote, that black people are getting under these false leaders. Warren Williams' book is important, called Enough. The Dead End Movement.
Well, I thought they was had also. Shut Juan Williams down too.
Yeah, he's changed his. Yeah, he's dancing to. I'm very disappointed in Juan Williams.
He's changing.
Done all of them. I don't think they're going to change Ben Carson, and that's why I'm going down there tonight to see him.
Please put something on your Facebook tomorrow
about that
because from what I know of Ben Carson, I can't see him falling into certain realms in this stuff or making people. Making black people as victims and different things like that. Well, I'd really like to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, well, one thing about you Christians that are strong in your faith, Catherine, is that you don't bend, and you weren't meant to break. And you don't bend because you have some foundation of your principles. And
is he a Christian? Is that what he's doing?
He is a 7-day Adventist.
Okay.
And that's why he is such a low-key person. He doesn't do any shouting. He's a very low-key person. But you could tell that he is absolutely one of those persons that is based upon a principle understanding of what his morals are. And he is not willing to negotiate that. And one of the things he says as a brain surgeon is that he looks at all these brains, there's black brains, and people got brains and white bodies and all that, and he sees all the common the synapses are not any different in one brain than another. Unless you know the color of the person's face, and so he sees the commonality of the human family, and that's the way it is. Well, they're telling us we got to get out of here. We have had a nice conversation. I've enjoyed it, Catherine, as always. We want you to out there in our listenership to watch all the programs here. Catherine's and the two Catherine's programs will be on in a few minutes. I have to run home.
Sartoria's Black History Corner.
Sartoria's Black History Corner.
Please
Want
tune
you
in.
to tune in at 3:30, and I got to run out of here and run home in order to see it myself live. Want you to follow your dream, because if you don't follow your dream, you will absolutely never know what's on the other side of the rainbow.
Be God bless and Hotep, which means peace. Mwah.